Casio has just released a brand new Tiffany dial watch, and I have a feeling that this watch is going to be another massive hit like the Casio Tiffany Datejust. However, this time, Casio isn't copying the looks of the Rolex Datejust. Instead, they've gone after one of the most popular watches in recent years, the Casio PRX. So this new Casio doesn't just feature the popular Tiffany blue colour, it also features a super sporty integrated bracelet look that's usually only found on expensive watches. But is this super affordable Casio actually worth your money, or is it just another Tiffany dial watch that's all hype and no substance? All of that and much more, let's get started. So this watch, in my opinion, closely resembles the Casio PRX, especially the ice blue version, although I don't necessarily think that Casio has tried to copy the PRX, just that they've seen a huge trend of integrated bracelet sports watches and they'd like a piece of the pie. However, although this new Casio certainly looks like an integrated bracelet watch, it actually features a fairly normal 18mm lug width, which of course means there are tons of options for aftermarket straps, and I'll show you some of the best towards the end of this video, so stay tuned. I think that the design of this Casio has been well thought out. It features a great dial to watch ratio, which gives the watch a lot of wrist presence for a smaller watch. The taper to the bracelet looks super slick, and the choice of materials for the price is very fair. However, I have a feeling that this watch is going to be very hard to get hold of, because we all know greedy scalpers like to ruin everybody's fun. The Casio Tiffany Datejust that got released at the start of 2023 was an instant hit, with them seemingly being harder to buy at retail than Rolex sports models. Consequently, these Casio Tiffany's were selling for stupid prices on places like eBay and Chrono24, with them frequently selling for way over double retail price. The hype on that watch has somewhat died down now, and it is possible to pick up the Casio Tiffany Datejust for retail price. However, a lot of watch reviewers have complained about the quality of the watch, with there being a big misconception that the watch is made from stainless steel. The watch is actually made from a chrome-plated metal, which is of course way less durable than steel, and it will tarnish over time, leaving the watch looking like a piece of junk. The Casio Tiffany PRX, however, claims to have a stainless steel case, but does it actually? Stay tuned to find out. So the original Casio Tiffany was harder to find than a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. So is this new Casio Tiffany doomed to have the same fate? It's hard to find an exact retail price on these models, because they aren't actually released to Western markets yet. I have a feeling though that these Casio PRXs will retail for around $70. After all, the Casio Tiffany Datejust is around $50 retail, and it makes sense for Casio to charge a bit more this time if they are actually offering a stainless steel case, but you certainly won't find many for sale at the moment. I believe that this model is currently only available in Asian markets, so versions in the West have a higher price due to import fees and exclusivity. I had to pay $100 to get this watch early, which I'm happy to do to bring you guys this review, but I highly recommend that you stay patient and wait for the official release and pay retail price for this watch. There are some currently for sale in Europe, but they will set you back around $100. So watch this full review first to see whether you need one right now, whether it's worth the wait, or whether you might just want to avoid it completely. Now, although this is a Tiffany dial watch, it doesn't feature the exact same dial as the last model. Some of you will definitely think that this new one is better, and some of you will think it's worse. The main selling point of this watch is of course the Tiffany dial colour, although this watch does actually come in a few other dial options too, but I suspect none of them will be as popular as this turquoise version. But the word Tiffany blue is thrown around quite a lot when it comes to watches, and some are a lot closer than others. So is this Casio a genuine turquoise dial? Well, I think that the original Casio Tiffany was spot on with the colour, with it having a flat colour that looked deep and rich. However, this Casio Tiffany PRX is different. This model actually features a sunburst finish, which gives the colour a lot more variety depending on the lighting condition. In darker environments, the dial absolutely has the Tiffany blue colour. However, when light hits the dial, you get some hints of mint green, silver, and even icy blue. So this dial colour is way more interesting in my opinion than the other Casio Tiffany, because the colour has way more personality throughout the day in different circumstances. I think another huge appeal to watch nerds is the minimalist style design, with this Casio using simple polished stick markers and hands, keeping the dial useful but simple. It's also nice to see minimal tech text being used, with a simple Casio and WR50 being printed in black above and below the pinion respectively. The tiny black minute markers are also aesthetically pleasing, keeping the focus purely on the tasteful indices and hands. But they again confirm that Casio are the kings when it comes to the seconds hand hitting markers, even on super affordable watches like this one. The dial on this Casio is tasteful, well executed, and allows the focus to purely be on the desired Tiffany blue colour. So the dial of this watch, in my opinion, has been executed well and will pique interest. But does this Casio actually come with a steel case, and will it stand the test of time? I am pleased to say that we do indeed see the use of a full stainless steel case, which means that this Casio will last infinitely longer than the other Casio Tiffany model. The finishing, though, is very basic and nothing to write home about, but we'll cover that soon. Thankfully, the crown, caseback and bracelet are also made from stainless steel, so case durability won't be an issue with this watch. The caseback is only pressed down and the crown is only push-pull, meaning that 50 meters of water resistance is the limit to this watch, which is technically swim-proof, although I wouldn't recommend any serious water submersion with this ticker. The caseback is your standard laser-etched spec sheet, with the model and quartz module number displayed on the back. Speaking of, the module inside of this Casio is the 4393, which has an accuracy of plus or minus 20 seconds per month, an average battery life of 3 years, and a date complication at the 3 o'clock. This module is actually used in some of Casio's more premium edifice models, so it's nice to see it here inside this watch too. Covering the dial, we have a flat mineral crystal that sits flush against the bezel. At this price, I don't think anyone is expecting sapphire. It's just a bonus that it isn't plastic. I will say though that although the crystal doesn't feature any anti-reflective treatment, it is rather clear even in direct sunlight. The bezel surrounding the crystal is sloped and features a completely polished finish, which contrasts very well with the circular brushed finish of the upper case. The sides of this watch and upper lugs are completely polished too, which gives the watch plenty of flash when it meets the light. The main downside of this whole watch is the bracelet, as this is your standard folded links bracelet that we usually see from Casio. It features a completely brushed finish and is an absolute pain in the arse to size. This one is definitely a hair nipper. It doesn't hurt so much when the watch is on the wrist, but taking the watch on and off is a painful task. I will show you later in the video though 3 amazing strap alternatives for this Casio, including a solid link bracelet, a baby blue resin strap, and even an integrated high quality leather band, all of which are super affordable, so stay tuned for that. The supplied bracelet does taper from 21mm at the lugs to 15mm at the clasp, which fulfills that integrated sporty look perfectly. The clasp is only pressed and signed with Casio at the double push button deployment. For any of you out there who love Casios for their smaller wearing dimensions, fear not, this new Casio will not let you down. This Casio has the exact same case diameter as the smaller PRX, coming in with a 35mm case, with the super compact 40mm lug to lug, meaning it wears true to size. The 7.5mm thickness and 82g weight is also perfect, meaning that this watch will disappear on the wrist, wearing exactly how we like our Casios to wear. Small, lightweight, getting on with its job without getting in the way. To any of you out there who are thinking that this is too small, try not to compare this watch with a dive watch for example. See this as a digital Casio, which are all small and universally loved. The flared end links of the bracelet give the watch more wrist presence anyway, and make it look larger on the wrist than the dimensions suggest. The clasp unfortunately doesn't feature any micro adjustment, which means you'll either have to wear the watch slightly loose or slightly tight, but because of its lightweight nature, you absolutely can get away with wearing it loose and it's still super comfortable, although that does present more hair nipping risk. I wouldn't say that upgrading the bracelet is absolutely necessary, but you will definitely get more enjoyment out of the watch if you choose to do so. So if you do want to upgrade the bracelet to something that's higher quality and more comfortable, then here are 3 great options that you should try. If you want to keep this Casio on a steel bracelet, then this is a fantastic option. This is a solid link bracelet that has flat end links. Now this option doesn't feature the flared links like the factory bracelet, so you do get a bit of a gap from the lugs to the side of the case, although because the lugs and case sides are so close together, it doesn't look as awkward as this sometimes does with other Casios. This particular bracelet is from WatchGecko. Unfortunately, it's now discontinued, but I found an almost identical identical option on AliExpress that's only $15, which I'll leave a link to down in the description. The next option is this baby blue resin strap. Funnily enough, this is actually from a Casio F91W, as this watch and the F91 share almost identical dimensions when it comes to the lug area. Now obviously the colours don't match at all, but it's still super fun and extremely lightweight. All you'd need to do for this one is buy an F91W, swap over the strap and off you go. And then you also have a spare F91 in your drawer, which is never a bad thing. Finally, and probably the best option of the lot, you can buy a leather strap that has flared links. My recommendation would be this strap by Vario, which is made for the F91W. I tried some of Vario's straps with my Casio Royale earlier this year, and I was extremely impressed with the quality of them, so I assume that these straps will also be fantastic. They are made with top grain leather, have a beautiful oiled finish, and feature quick release spring bars. They do feature a black steel buckle though, so make sure you pick up an extra regular steel buckle for that seamless look. Now let me answer a few very important questions about this watch. How does this new Casio stack up against the Quartz PRX? Are there any other watches that you should buy instead of this new Casio? And finally, do I actually think you should buy this new watch? I think that this Casio definitely has a place in the market. After all, there are no real alternatives to this style of watch around this price point, with this watch costing around 5 times less than the Quartz PRX. I do however think that you shouldn't set your expectations too high with this watch. This Casio is nowhere near the quality of the Tissot PRX, which is quite fairly reflected in the price. But if you want a Tiffany dial sporty watch that has smaller wearing dimensions for under $100, then this is your watch. Would I rush out and buy it? Well, I did, yeah, but I don't think you should. It's certainly not worth the $100 I paid for mine, especially when you consider that the Casio Edifice Sapphire is another sporty Casio that is way better in my opinion. Is it fun? Yes. Does it look great on wrist? I think so. Is it worth the retail price? Potentially. That's down to you and the style of watches that you like to collect. If you'd like to support the channel and get a cool watch at the same time, then check out toptierticker.com for some affordable watches. The link is in the description. And if you're still thirsty for some more juicy watch content, then be sure to watch my video here on the best watches from 25 different watch brands.